Yes, guys, you are listening to the Chat Network. I'm your host, Nazia, and I am not alone. I am with our esteemed guest, Mr. Zaid Ismail. Welcome to the studio, Zaid.
Hey, thanks for having me, as always.
It's such a pleasure to have you back in our space. How are things with you?
It's been hectic, but good hectic, very good busy. So, yeah,
That's
looking forward to
awesome.
taking some major new projects forward.
Great. Tell us about yourself, Zaid. What line of work are you in?
So, I'm actually focused on mental health activism more than anything else. I do coaching for life, life coach, that sort of thing. But I'm more interested in changing the narrative of how it is that we view the human experience, view our lives, and how we connect with it, because there's far too much of distortion about what it means to be human these days. So my focus is to try and change that.
That is absolutely interesting. Changing the way we see the human experience. Tell us more about that.
I think without realizing it, a lot of the mainstream narratives, it fixates on trying to define us as a victim without meaning to make us a victim. But we frame it as if we're victims, and then within that context of being a victim, we then try to cope and we try to manage and we try to defend. I don't think that's a very sustainable way of living. And if we look at the way the world is going, there's something wrong with that model. So I think we need to consider the seriousness of the evidence we see in front of us regarding our social degradation, regarding the lack of cohesion in our community and things like that, and consider, well, what are we getting wrong? Why is it that we're trying our hardest and trying our best, but still we're not getting the right results?
Mental health activism.
Yes.
That's new. Great. Okay. So today we are talking about this whole aspect of living in the fast lane. What is your view of mental health currently? How's everybody doing?
For the most part, people are doing really badly. And because they're doing badly, they need that much more distractions and coping mechanisms and outlets and spaces to vent and things like that, which is all of that coping stuff that I was talking about. Is that the more we have an unhealthy lifestyle, the more that lifestyle has to be complemented and supported by ways of blowing off steam and switching off and things like that. And that's why we end up with things like doom scrolling and needing to go and have reckless lifestyles and reckless hobbies and things like that, that then just causes more problems because it doesn't solve the original problem.
Do you find that people are suffering from burnout? Do you find that people are just going without recognizing their telltale signs? That's like, okay, you're tired, but you're still pushing through. You're tired. What effect does that have on your mental health? Pushing through, even though you're tired, even though you're burning out. How does that affect mental health?
You see, that's exactly what I'm saying about how it is that we keep trying to cope, right? Burnout is because we don't realize how hard we're pushing ourselves because it becomes our new normal. And because everyone around us seems to be doing the same thing, we think this is just the way life is. This is the hustle, right? And if we don't realize that that feeling of burnout is an indicator of other things that we've normalized in our life, that is unhealthy, that is denying us the very quality of life we're trying to create for ourselves, then we'll keep focusing on how best to deal with burnout. And then we start talking of ridiculous things like work-life balance. And we talk about things like switching off when you get home and switching off your personal problems when you get to the office and things like that. But the one thing that always fascinates me about that way of thinking is, how do you get a human to stop being human between those two domains? Like, if I'm a human at home and I've got certain things that weigh down on me, how am I supposed to just stop caring about that the moment I get to the office and vice versa? So work-life balance is a myth. The hustle is a myth. And most of the things that, the one really fascinating thing for me, and I'm going to use the word fascinating a lot because I just find this so confusing how it is that we've lost ourselves to this, is that majority of the people, and I would really welcome some listeners to share their views on this, is that the majority of us are doing what we do because we're avoiding something. We're avoiding consequences. We're avoiding homelessness. We're avoiding poverty. We're avoiding not being able to pay the bills. We're avoiding not letting our families down, whatever it is. And that's why we burn out, because we're avoiding stuff. We're not working towards something that we believe with sincerity is worth striving for.
I think this word hustle needs to be explored. This word hustle, what is this? What culture is this? What are we talking about when we say people want to hustle or they're obsessed with their hustle?
I think the hustle is about us chasing external kind of goals. That external goal is about what it is that we need to accumulate, what kind of branded lifestyle we need to have, how it is that we want our friends and family and even neighbors to think of us. And that's how we hustle for that, right? We hustle to make our mark, to leave our impact, or to accumulate wealth, whatever it is. But again, as much as we think that a lot of those things are like worth working towards because it earns you social stature or respect or whatever it is, it doesn't give you fulfillment. So you're always chasing. And that's why you're never ever satisfied. Once you reach that first milestone you set for yourself, you think, oh wow, never thought I'd get here, so what's next? And then it's always that. It's what's next, what's next, what's next.
So we're talking about people like who are obsessed with what's next, the what's next generation, who what's next, and so they're never present, right?
Yeah.
You deprive yourself of being present because you don't even know if tomorrow is promised to you.
Now you're really touching on something that I always take a dig at people with, because everyone says tomorrow's not promised, right? Everyone says that tomorrow is not guaranteed. You must love people the way they deserve to be loved, or show how much you care and all of that. But yet we all live as if tomorrow is guaranteed.
True.
Right? We come home from work and we already in our headspace, we already focused on how we're going to have to get up the next morning and how we're going to hustle again the next day for the next day's earnings, right? Now, there's a very big difference between having a strategic kind of view about life and like, this is what's important and this is why I need to prepare myself, versus constantly stressing about what do I need to deal with next. And this what's next thing, if you find yourself living in that way, that's one of the key indicators that says that you don't have a bigger purpose that you're actually serving. You're serving the day to day. So you're living in cycles, right? And that's how life works. Life works in cycles, and if we don't see this, we just lose track of the fact that we're actually just going through a cycle all the time. And the cycles are simple. It's like a daily cycle. You've got a daily routine. Then you have a weekly routine because you know what you're looking forward to on the weekends and what it is that you need to do then. Then you have a monthly routine, and then you have a yearly routine, and then it's rinse repeat. And we go through the same thing, and then we start counting the birthdays, and we start counting our age, and then we wonder if we age appropriate, and then we wonder if we are achieved enough goals according to that age. But you know what we lose in all of that? How much have we actually done with that amount of time that has elapsed? How have we really filled those moments with something that really talks to why we believe life is important? If we're so crazy about cherishing life that's supposed to be so sacred, why are we hustling?
Indeed, indeed. I think that just that very word hustle got me. Because we've got so many people saying, I'm hustling, I'm a hustler. You know, what role does social media play in putting pressure on people to actually do this, to actually ascribe to this lifestyle? Like, yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to be popular for this view, but social media didn't get you to pick your phone up. So you need to take accountability for why you picked up your phone to go on social media in the first place.
So if I pick up my phone and I go onto like TikTok, or I go onto one or any of the social media platforms, and it's telling me I need to be on this, fast track. I need to be having the house. I need to have the car. Like my algorithm is there.
Right. But what does that tell you? It tells you that you don't have your own objectives or goals in life. You're shaping your objectives around what other people have, what other people are saying you should have, what other people are doing. So who are you then? Are you just a template of society, or is society a reflection of you?
You just hurt my feelings.
Right? Because this is the thing, right? When you pick up your phone doesn't say open TikTok.
No.
You go to TikTok, right? Now, if you're not going to TikTok for something specific, if you don't understand why you're going to TikTok, then you're going to just follow the rabbit hole of whatever TikTok throws at you. Now, algorithms, we can blame algorithms all we want, but it's simple as this. If I'm interested in a certain topic, the algorithm sees I'm interested in that topic and presents me with more information about that topic. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
If you go onto my social media feed, it will look very differently to an 18-year-old's feed. And that's because of what I indicate interest in, not because of what they're throwing at me.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a very interesting story once where they said that if you go on a TikTok feed of the average teenager in China, it looks extremely different compared to the average teenage feed anywhere else in the world.
Why is that?
Because they understand what it means to expose yourself to meaningful information, something that gives you inspiration to want to achieve and accomplish things and create things, versus distractions, because you just want to doom scroll all day. And if you find yourself doom scrolling, this is going to hurt. But all it means is that you don't have enough purpose in your life.
True. And there's also, there was a study recently published on the relationship between your algorithm on your social media field and your feed and your mental health, and how it affects your mental health. It can take you deeper into that if you're depressed,
Right.
and your content is geared towards all of that, you're looking at it, the algorithm feeds you more of that, and you're in danger of getting more depressed. Or it just convinces you that this is the state that you are in, and yeah, what do you think of that?
Do you see what I mean when I say that from the mainstream perspective, they frame us as if we're victims of all of these things? I'm not a victim of my social media feed. I'm using my social media feed to satisfy what it is that I'm not getting in my real life.
Sure.
So if I'm feeling depressed, it's because I have no hope in certain important aspects of my life going the way I want it to go. Now, if I go onto social media and I look for everything that resonates with that echoes that same sentiment, I can't say social media is taking me further into the rabbit hole. I'm looking for the rabbit hole to go further. I'm not looking to see why it is that it's hopeless. I'm feeling sorry for myself. Oh, I'm going to get mail for this one.
Yes, you are.
I'm feeling sorry for myself, so I'm looking for everything that's going to make me feel validated. And that validation is what convinces me that my depression is justified. It's real. It's something that no one else will understand, because they're also experiencing it and no one else sees this. So then I look at that and I say, well, if I can find resonance online in social media and the people around me don't get me, then it must be them. It can't be me.
Mm-hmm. So it kind of like excuses us. It justifies how we check out of situations and blame everyone else. You are really hurting my feelings. I need a music break. This is this is a mind flip, honestly. 23 minutes past 9. You stay tuned. Yes, guys, you're listening to the Chat Network with me and my guest, Mr. Zaid Ismail, who has graced us with his wisdom. We needed some time to take a breath, because everything you think you know, you really did not know. He has that ability. Let me tell you something, listeners. If there is a perspective that you are thinking and somebody walks in and they're like, but what makes you think that that's the only way? Don't believe everything you think. This is exactly that kind of interview. So yes, again, Zaid, thank you so much for coming through this morning. Our listeners are definitely loving the conversation. We've got Raj saying, this is so refreshing. Thank you so much. We've got Anisa saying, I know Zaid and his work is exemplary. Watch him on TikTok. Thank you for that, Anisa. We've got Shanaz saying, hi Zaid, like your voice and the messages you are bringing through. I agree with Nazia, I'm hurt.
Thanks, I think.
Okay, let's proceed with the punishment. Yes, Zaid, all things mental health. I believe that, who tells us what we should have? It's society. Where do these standards come from? I should have this. I should accomplish this by this age. I should have all of these things. Where's this rule book coming from?
I think it comes from what is normalized through what we're exposed to when we're kids, right? And it's a very interesting dynamic, because we don't realize that, one of my favorite lines is that children don't learn by what you tell them, they learn through osmosis. They learn through what they're exposed to around you. So if you as a parent, as an adult, are chasing social stature, chasing keeping up with the Joneses and things like that, then you're raising your child to believe that that's what's important, right? So when they eventually then develop a sense of how they're going to interpret that within the context of their life, then we look at it and say, but we didn't raise you to be like this. No, you did raise me to be like this. You just didn't realize you were raising me to be like this. And when it gets to that part, it becomes really difficult, because now how do you identify where did we go wrong versus how did they misinterpret what we tried to teach them? And it's not about getting it right or wrong. It's just about recognizing what is the reality. The reality is that I intended to teach you something good. How you took it and how you experienced it relative to, and this is my favorite bugbear, relative to the village experience around you. And we don't realize that the village is very different to what it was when the Gen X's were kids.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a Gen X. And that's why for me to speak to another Gen X is very difficult these days, because they're still stuck in that mindset of spare the rod and spoil the child, and if they don't listen, you give them a clap, or if they don't listen, you take away privilege in that. That all has limited impact. What value system are you changing when you correct them?
This is so important. The village has changed. And so the raising of your child, the way you do it, the way you understand them, the way they interpret you, it's like, and you hear that so often where parents say, I didn't raise my child to be like this.
Yes.
So what pressure are they currently facing?
The pressures we're facing right now is that we don't fully grasp exactly how it is that this, and it's such a cliche, but it's so true these days, how the global village is shaping the narrative for our children. And the only reason the global narrative is changing the way they see life is because they don't have a healthier, more meaningful grounding point in their own village. So if I go out, it's like look at the guys from the MMA fighter Nurmagomedov, I forget his name now. There's these guys that come from traditional backgrounds, and they're rock solid in how it is that they maintain tradition and culture and value system, despite what the amount of money they're making in MMA, for example. And you have to question then, why is it possible for them to do that versus why is it that the moment we are exposed to the flesh and the bling of Satan, we lose ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's because our self-esteem is based on our sense of what we belong to. And if we don't have a sense of belonging, we go looking for it elsewhere. And the easiest way to find that belonging is with other people who share your struggle. And that's why we become in this victim mindset where we look at everyone else who's hustling and we think, this is my tribe. We're hustling together. We all know how difficult it is. We need to make ends meet. We want to leave our mark. We want to create that ideal life and all of this nonsense. Those are all idealisms. Those are all like, it's good to have those ideals, but you have to ground it in reality. What's the reality you're dealing with? And why is it that that appeals to you more than where you're coming from? What is it that you're discarding about where you're coming from because of the emotional experience of how it was instilled in you?
What is the alternative to hustling? What is the alternative perspective that you would prescribe? What works? Because there's no one size fits all.
I'm going to throw another cliche at you. You know, they say that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yes.
How many people who are hustling love what they do, not why they're doing it? If you're hustling, then what is your real connection with it? Is it a means to an end, or is it the end itself? Now, that's the biggest problem. Most people approach the hustle, approach their jobs and everything else as if it's the end itself, even though they know in the back of their mind it's a means to an end. But then because of the fear of what they're going to lose or not accomplish or not be able to satisfy or meet, if they're not good at their jobs become the end itself. Then it becomes all-consuming. And then everyone around them must appreciate and be sensitized to how much stress they have because of their jobs, because it's because of their job that they have to, that they have this quality of life for their families, and that their families are insensitive, so they feel like they're undervalued and unappreciated and all of that. That has truth to it, but that's not the problem to solve. The problem to solve is, why is it that when you show up at work, you're so emotionally invested in it that it destroys your personal life?
You know, you just brought something to my mind as you're talking. When you meet people, they basically say, I'm so tired. You say, how are you? I'm so tired. Work is so busy. I have no time, you know, and it's just crazy. And I'm looking for another job. Like, it's standard. The more tired you are, the more hardworking you portray yourself, the more accomplished people feel. Yeah. Like, if you're not tired, you know, almost as if you're not tired, like, what work do you do? Are you actually working? It's that perspective that I've had to deal with personally. You meet someone and they're like, I'm so tired. Work is so hectic. I hustle. Do you know how hard I have to work? And you're like, the more burnt out you seem, the more hardworking you are. So you must be on the right road to success.
Yeah. And can you see how it is that the more I appear to be a martyr, the more people celebrate me?
Yes.
That's the victim mindset. The victim mindset says that you can see my struggle and you must respect me for my struggle because look how much I'm struggling despite everything else. Why? Why should I respect your struggle instead of helping you to understand why your struggle is actually not what you think it is? Or why it is that you're struggling with the wrong thing? What problem are you solving? Are you solving a problem to provide a means to an end? Or are you solving a problem to create a value of life for you and your family? And if you don't know what problem you're trying to solve, you're going to be reacting to everything that society throws at you. And that's another irony, right? We all blame society, but we are society. So the critical mass, whatever is normal in society, is what becomes what we're competing with. Now, if we're going to keep going along with what society says, then the path of least resistance, you're going to slip into the abyss of chasing.
And then you're going to say it's my social media feed that
Exactly.
made me feel this way.
I didn't get enough sleep last night because I was busy on TikTok till so late because the algorithms.
Yes,
No.
yes. TikTok made me do it. You know what? I'm also thinking along the lines of what I have versus what I think I should have.
Yes.
Can we talk about that? What I have versus what I think I should have.
That talks to how it is that we don't have a sense of self. We don't know what we stand for, so we kind of adopt a position based on what we think will work, what will answer a problem for us. So that's how we then get driven by what we see around us. So if you don't have a healthy sense of self, if you don't know where you come from, what you stand for, what you're trying to achieve, what you want to leave as your legacy, and I'm not talking of a legacy of wealth. I'm talking what impact do you want to have, right? Because I guarantee you, if there's one thing that drives every single person without fail, regardless of religion, ethnicity, or creed, whatever it is, the one thing that drives every single one of us is that we want to know that we left a positive impact. And if that comes under threat, we act badly. That's when we start behaving badly. So if I don't know why I'm pursuing something, and I just feel the fear and the stress of what would happen if I didn't pursue it, I need to take stock. Who am I? What do I stand for? What am I trying to achieve? Why is this important to me? And that's how you end up chasing and chasing and chasing. And what you don't realize is that the more you don't have a sense of what's important to me, not what is important to the people around me relative to what's important to me and all of that, you have to have a clear sense of, okay, this is what I'm trying to achieve. This is the purpose of my life. And in the process, I'm going to accept that I have to fulfill certain rights of the people around me because they're also fulfilling my rights that I have over them. That's the balance, right? But how I go about doing that, I can't be in a victim headspace because then I'm blaming them for how I feel. I'm blaming them for not appreciating and all of those things.
I think that's so important. We need to be thinking about what we have versus what we think we have, what we think we should have, through a perspective that works for us, that's healthy, holistically. Are people looking at their lives on a holistic level?
I don't think they know how to, for the most part. And I'm not being condescending or judgmental. I just honestly believe that for the most part, people don't know how to look at life holistically because the model that we're using to determine that is so severely distorted. Mainstream mental health has turned us into victims who are trying to cope. And until we're willing to start looking at that more seriously, we're going to keep thinking that, hey, that's the way we need to experience things or interpret things. It's like my legitimate depression for what is not going right for me in life is now defined as an illness. So now I just took the legitimacy, the validity of my actual experience, and I threw it in the bin and I said, no, you're suffering from something.
Okay.
So when you have that kind of a distortion, how do you know what holistic even looks like? Because now you have to remedy everything. You're in reaction mode. And as long as you're in reaction mode, you're never ever pursuing something with purpose. You're always reacting to what's thrown at you. And that's exhausting. And that's why after a while, when you get tired of that reaction mode, when the fruits of the reaction mode is not enough to make the reaction mode itself, that hustle, that struggle, it's not enough to make that worth it, that's when you reach burnout.
And I think, when we talk about, like the perspectives you're bringing to the table, a sense of emotional dysregulation. comes to mind.
Yes.
A sense of everyone is anxious, everyone is stressed. You talk to everyone. I am on anti-anxiety medication. I have regular panic attacks. I had a panic attack at work. I'm continuously anxious. I'm not sure why. I can't take on a huge task. I'm on leave at work because I have anxiety. So do you find that there is a prevalence now, or is it that it always existed? There's just more awareness now on anxiety, chronic stress, and the conditions that are associated with it. What's your view on that?
I think, and this is a very, very sensitive topic, right? Because on the one hand, you don't want to delegitimize how someone is actually feeling and experiencing their life. But on the other hand, you also need to give them perspective about understanding what is their contribution towards it. On the other hand, also, the other thing we need to consider is how it is that if I come to you, in fact, here's a good example. A long time ago, showing my age, when I was still in corporate, we played a prank on one guy. And what we did was, this guy came into the office in the morning, perfectly normal. It was just a normal day. Everyone in the team, I promise you, this is a true story. Everyone in the team took a turn to go and tell him, hey, you're not looking well today. What's going on? Are you sure you're okay? And everyone went in their own way and just said, hey, what's you looking like you're not well. I promise you, by lunchtime the guy wasn't feeling well and he took the rest of the day off.
Wow.
That's the power of, you can call it suggestion, you can call it whatever you want to. The point is, if I don't know how I'm being validated into a certain way of experiencing life, I'm not going to think there's anything wrong with the way I'm looking at it. And then I go to someone for advice and they validate me even more. And then they start turning people around me into villains. And this person is treating you like it, and that person is toxic, and it's an abusive relationship, but they don't ever consider, how is my contribution to that actually enabling it? Or worse still, how is it that I may be distorting what I'm interpreting about what they're intending, and I'm just taking it the wrong way? So we don't look to create understanding anymore, we look to create compliance. And everyone is focused on, if you comply with what I demand, then I'll comply with what you demand. And that's how we have a healthy relationship. No, that's not a healthy relationship. That's a contractual, a transactional relationship. Most people don't know what a healthy relationship looks like because they're so transactional. And if you look at the divorce rates these days, it confirms it. When the transaction doesn't balance anymore, then we've outgrown each other.
This is a session. I am in session. I'm sorry. I get lost. I'm in session. But I think it's so important because if somebody's not validating your experience, validation is also addictive. It's something that you chase with people in your interactions daily. People who disagree with you, you tend to move away from. It's just that acceptance of truth. I heard something. They say the amount of growth that you can experience is directly proportionate to the amount of truth that you can accept about yourself.
Yes. The funny thing about truth is that there's 3 dimensions to it, right? It's your truth, my truth, and then the actual truth. And that talks about perspective. And if we're not willing to consider that our perspective is not fully informed, we won't consider that there's more to it. And that's why we then focus on, if I'm wrong, that means I'm vulnerable, and then I become defensive because I can't be wrong. Because here's the thing, right? Very quickly. Let's just break this down quickly. Why being wrong is such a threat to so many people. If I'm wrong, what does it do? It diminishes my ability to influence the space around me relative to what I want or need from that, right? So if my influence is going to be reduced, that means that my significance is being reduced. If my significance is being reduced, that means that I run the risk of becoming irrelevant. And what is that core need I said we all have? To be of positive impact. That comes under threat. So the moment that comes under threat in a way that I don't see, I just feel attacked. And then I validate why I feel attacked, because look at your tone, look at how often you're picking on me, look at how it is that you don't appreciate this and all of that. But I'm not looking at what's the merit of their gripe. So the moment I don't allow myself to consider that, hey, being wrong just means that I might be missing something. I might have a blind spot. And I should actually consider this from their perspective to see why it is that they're experiencing something that I'm not intending. Now we're talking of a healthier self-esteem. Now we're not defined by what people think of us, we're defined by what we think of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. Most people don't have an informed opinion of themselves. Their opinion of themselves is informed by what they think other people think of them.
You're hurting my feelings. I can't. I need a music break. I need to breathe. I think that, this is so informative, and I think it's so self-reflective. And this is the kind of conversations we need to be having, the real ones. Why are you seeking validation? Why do we get defensive? Why is it in an argument we feel like we can't be wrong? We just can't be wrong. It's horrible. And yeah, as much as I love this, my ears are on fire for the reason that I'm self-reflecting. Let's just get to Bacha. Bacha, help us out. So yes, it is the Chat Network right here on 92.2 East Wave FM with me, Nazia, and my guest, Mr. Zaid Ismail, flipping perspectives here. And I'm telling you, my mind is working overtime. And I actually thanked him for the session. I'm in session, guys. I'm in session. Thank you so much, Zaid. I watch your content on TikTok. Guys, Zaid is on TikTok, and he talks about so many interesting concepts. And he's so real, I must say. It's not like, therapeutic jargon that he's throwing at you and he's labeling you and you're feeling like, oh, that's my condition. I fit in this mold. You actually feel like this is sense. You feel clarity. I can't tell you. In person, you feel clarity. It's just his energy. So, tell us, Zaid, what are we getting wrong?
I think what we're getting wrong is that we just don't realize that what we are pushing for is what we think we have to accomplish rather than what we want to accomplish. And it's a very subtle play on words, right? But if there's one thing that I discovered to be very true is that when it comes to mental health and figuring life out, accuracy of language is really important. It's like the example about depression, right? If I say I feel depressed about something, then the problem I need to solve then is, why are you feeling depressed, right? So I'm trying to understand why I feel hopeless. But if I say I'm suffering from depression, it's a very different problem to solve. Now it's like something's happening to me that's out of my control, and it's got nothing to do with my actual lived experience. So in the same way, if I say, what do I want to achieve versus what do I have to achieve? The one is based on fear. The second one, what I have to achieve, is based on fear. I have to achieve this or else something else is not going to be achievable. Whereas I want to achieve it is because if I get this right, it allows me to create a new, bigger opportunity that I really feel passionate about. And it's not that if you chose your career, for example, because of what you had to do. People go through school because they have to finish school. If they don't finish school, they're not going to get a job, or they're not going to get into university. And then they have to finish university because if they don't finish university, they're not going to be able to get into a career. Again, it sounds all fantastic and it sounds like, yes, I'm passionate about the field of medicine or law or whatever it is. But why am I passionate about it? What is it that it enables for me? Because that's what all of these things need to be, right? Every day we wake up, what am I enabling for myself in life? Rather than what do I have to do to avoid living on the street?
This is unique. This is so unique. And, our listeners have definitely benefited from this discussion today. Zaid, what is your message to our people listening today?
I think if you're finding yourself stuck in that cycle of fear, there's one simple thing you can do. Look back on your life and look at all of the times that you were afraid that something was not going to go your way. And then you try to control it and you try to have coping mechanisms and all of that. And it still didn't go your way, but yet somehow you managed to figure it out. Now that's what you need to focus on, is the fact that you have the ability to figure things out, not that you have to have things figured out before you do it. Because that's what life is about, right? The one critical thing that I have to remind myself of often is that success teaches you nothing. Success only confirms what you already know to be true. So if you're going to protect yourself from failing, you're preventing yourself from learning. And if you're going to attach negative stigma to failing, then you're effectively more concerned about what people think of you rather than what you think of yourself. So if you see failure as a feedback loop, you see it as insight, information, It's like an iterative process, right? And in fact, here's a good way to frame the whole success and failure thing. Success or failure in itself is not what matters. It's the consequence of that success or failure that matters. And I just want to explain that very quickly. If I don't care who is watching when I fail, I won't bother about failing because I know I can learn from it and try again and get it right. But if the failure is going to bring on humiliation, it's going to bring on negative reactions, and it's going to bring on some consequence that I don't want, then the failure becomes a big deal. The same thing with success. If the success means people are going to raise their expectations from me, and I don't want that, I'm going to avoid it. And then someone comes along and says, no, you're risk averse, and you don't want to, and you don't like change and all. It's not that. It's that I'm not looking forward to what that change is going to demand of me.
That is so powerful. That is so, so powerful. Zaid, we've reached the end of our time here on East Wave Radio, but it is not the end, listeners. We will have Mr. Ismail definitely back on air. Thank you so much for coming through to our studios this morning.
I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to share the platform with you. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure. And there you have it, listeners. That is the Chat Network, the edition for today. And we are going to bring you more. You stay tuned to East Wave FM. It has been absolutely an honor and a pleasure.